Jesus is an important figure in Islam as well, called Isa. He is said in the Quran to be God's Messiah. He is said to be born of a virgin. Mary is a virgin, said to be a virgin. In the Quran, there's a whole book section of the Quran called Miriam. Jesus works miracles. He is the teacher of the gospel, it says, although the gospel does not involve identifying Jesus with God. It is a gospel that preaches faith and love and peace, a little more peaceful than Matthew today. So in both Christian and Muslim traditions, versions, there is a mythological element, virgin birth, miracles, resurrection, and also a historical relational element, the teaching of total faith and dependence on God, the teaching of peace and love and compassion for others without discrimination, an example to be followed. Another thing shared by Christians and Muslims is that both of our traditions have been appropriated, misappropriated, used, misused by powers of the world, sometimes evil powers of the world, what could be called. The one that comes to mind right now is the Islamic State, whatever you want to call it, ISIS, ISIL, Daesh, whatever. And the distortions of Islam that they represent, what I consider distortion. They don't. But we've had our crusaders who saw imperial conquest as their calling. We've had conquistadors and colonialists who violently enforced religious conformity and engaged in what can only be called cultural genocide, carrying the cross before them. Both sultans and monarchs used tamed clergy and whatever the equivalent of prayer breakfasts were to promote their political agenda. All these options from the past for religion are available to us today. There are plenty of ways that we can appropriate religion to serve other goals, sometimes what might be called evil goals, to promote our own aggrandizement, to justify violence and prejudice, to rationalize things that we feel guilty for rather than seeking repentance and forgiveness. But we can also follow the good examples. We can use mythology within Christianity as an overall guide. This is a part of human thinking, participation in life that we've lost a bit in our excessive rationalization, our excessive materialism. And we touch on it, but we don't talk about it or feel it. We touch on it in our worship. Some of it's pretty strange if you think about it, but it opens to us a world that is closed off if you can't somehow appreciate this level of engagement with life and with reality. And we can incarnate, as Jesus did, the purposes of creation here on earth, in our relationships, in our lives. We can follow Jesus' teaching to care for the poor, to be indiscriminate in our love, to be an example of faith and dependence on God's power, but also incarnations of that divine power and that divine love, as I've put it before, as particular shapings of God's Spirit in space and time. We can discern meaning, sometimes symbolic meaning in our relationships, in the events of our daily life. So whether we're in the city or wandering in the wilderness, in eternity or time, we need to follow our call, as Abraham did, as Hagar did, as Jesus did. We need to search for the well that God is calling forth in our thirst, in our spiritual thirst. We need to wait for our angel to appear to guide us. And we, as Matthew says, need to take up our cross and follow. Thanks be to God.